Are Chelsea here to transfer players or to win trophies?
Of course, but they've just won 2 trophies last year.
A Mickey Mouse trophy.
Club World Cup. They've just beat PSG.
You've just said they haven't got a squad better than the other teams in the Premier League. How is that possible when you've spent £2 billion on a squad?
All right, so everyone's trying to defend Chelsea under Todd Boehly and Blueco, saying things like, give them time, it's a new era, they're investing so much. But you know what? Jamie Carragher has been right from the very beginning. He said things like, they are no closer to competing. They're winning Mickey Mouse trophies. Their recruitment is like a revolving door. Weak spots in the squad are still killing their title chances. He's been warning us, and so far, the results are proving him right. In this video, we're going to look at each of Jamie Carragher's main points about Chelsea and show why, right now, the criticism is deserved. Let's get into the bitter truths he's been telling us. 1. He said Chelsea are no closer to competing.
Are Chelsea here to transfer players or to win trophies?
Of course, but they've just won 2 trophies last year.
A Mickey Mouse trophy.
Club World Cup. They've just beat PSG.
You've just said they haven't got a squad better than the other teams in the Premier League. How is that possible when you've spent £2 billion on a squad?
Even with all the money spent since Boehly arrived, Chelsea hasn't really gotten any closer to the very top. They're not close to challenging for the Premier League or the Champions League like Manchester City, Liverpool, or Arsenal. The numbers don't lie. So what's the evidence? First, there were defensive mistakes right at the start of this season. Just 5 games in, the defense had already cost them points against teams like Brentford, Bayern Munich, and Manchester United. We're talking about bad positioning, players not marking their men, and a lack of strength in their own penalty area. A team that wants to be at the top can't keep losing games because of simple errors like that. Second, they haven't been able to dominate their biggest rivals. So far, they've only played one of the traditional Big Six teams, Manchester United, and they fell apart. They still have to face Liverpool, City, Tottenham, and Arsenal, and it already feels like they're out of the title race. If you can't perform in those direct matchups, how can you say you're closer? You need to beat your rivals, not just hope for the best. And finally, there's no clear sign they're getting better. Under the previous owner, Roman Abramovich, Chelsea had a clear structure. They were defensively solid, had a deadly counterattack, and signed experienced players who could improve the team right away.
Only one team can win the league, is Chelsea.
Under Boehly, the team's identity seems to change every transfer window. All that spending has created instability, not a steady climb. They're buying lots of very young, inexperienced players and hoping they'll be great in a few years. Sure, they found the gem in Cole Palmer and maybe Moises Caicedo, but so many other signings haven't worked out. Players like Mudryk, Noni Madueke, and others have already been sold or loaned out. Carragher's point is simple. You can spend all the money you want, but without a clear structure and some consistency, saying you're closer is just a slogan. And right now, the evidence shows they haven't closed the gap at all. So yes, Carragher is right. The spending hasn't created real momentum. Chelsea looks more chaotic, not more competitive. 2. He called Chelsea's trophies Mickey Mouse.
And if you look at what they're trying to do, they're trying to buy young players who, if we talk about the players out, Chelsea are very good at selling on an asset because they buy them young, they've still got value, and look at the fees here. Madueke, $66.6 million. You go down Nkunku, yes, he had an injury.
They made over $1 million in income, yeah.
Exactly. I just think Chelsea are going about it a different way. Whether we agree with it.
Are Chelsea here to transfer players or to win trophies?
Of course, but they've just won 2 trophies last year.
A Mickey Mouse trophy.
Club World Cup. They've just beat PSG.
You've just said they haven't got a squad better than the other teams in the Premier League. How is that possible when you've spent £2 billion on a squad?
Well, some trophies are just more important than others. The Conference League is a third-level European competition. Won it too. That should put things in perspective. He also has a point about the Club World Cup. While it's nice to win, the competition isn't always against the strongest teams. Calling it a major trophy for a club that isn't dominating in Europe feels like a stretch. When you win these smaller trophies, it's easy to point to them and say, see, we're turning things around. But if your league position is still poor, you're still losing big games, and your team has the same old weaknesses, then the trophies are just a cover. They don't fix the real problems. So Carragher is right. Those trophies don't change the fact that for a club with Chelsea's ambitions, they're just not enough. You can't measure success by lower-tier silverware when your main goals are still so far away. 3. He said Chelsea's recruitment is a revolving door.
Yeah, I suppose the question is where is the end? Is it this season, next season, or are we talking about 10 years' time?
I actually think they could have a decent season if the coach gets on the right side of it. He's not going to have to coach, he's going to have to manage, because it's a very difficult club and always has been Chelsea. It's a big club.
Chelsea have just got to stop buying players, and players have got to stop signing for Chelsea. I don't know why, if I was a player, I would look at that Chelsea project and think, why would you sign? The only reason why you would sign is because someone might say, your agent might say, we're getting a 7-year deal on big money. That's guaranteed money for 7 years. You know what I'd say? Back yourself as a player. Sign a 4-year deal at a proper club and back yourself to do well. And then when you're due for a renewal, your money goes up anyway. I don't understand why players are signing 7-year deals.
What if you backed yourself as a player anyway, Jamie, and you saw the list of names that are there and you're saying, I could be part of that?
Part of what?
Part of this young, exciting team could be.
It's not a young and exciting team. And that's why I don't think Chelsea can be successful. You can't be successful with that many players. You can't create anything cohesive or a team spirit or a togetherness that you're going to need to have it in the Premier League.
Do you have a sympathy for Rack?
This might be his sharpest criticism. He says Chelsea's transfer strategy is all over the place. Too many players coming in and going out, giving long contracts to players who aren't proven, and just swapping players instead of actually building a team. What makes him say that? There are just too many transfers and no stability. While other clubs make 1 or 2 key signings, Chelsea treats every transfer window like a complete reset. They bring in a bunch of new players and send a bunch out, often in the same positions. It makes it impossible for the team to build chemistry and a solid defensive or midfield unit. It feels like they're always patching holes instead of building a foundation. Let's compare their strategy to other clubs. Arsenal went for established, ready-to-play guys like Zubamendi and Victor Gyökeres. Liverpool targeted elite young talent like Alexander Isak. But Chelsea? They're signing players like Facundo Buonanotte, who couldn't even get a regular spot at Brighton, or young wingers like Jamie Gittins, who need years to develop. It's a pipeline of projects, not proven players. It's a gamble. They also flip players way too quickly. Why sign someone like Nkunku or João Felix only to move them on after barely a season?
Anyway, Jamie, and you saw the list of names that are there, and you're saying, I could be part of that.
Part of what?
Part of this young, exciting team that could be.
It's not a young and exciting team. You've bought João Felix, right? Tell me where he's going to play. They've signed Neto a week ago. Where's he going to play when you've already got Cole Palmer? So
can't you play those three? Can't you play Palmer, João Felix, and Neto?
So where would you play Enzo Fernandez, a £100 million player who played number 10? Where would you play Nkunku? So what I'm saying is, great football teams need competition. But every football team I played in, there was 7 or 8 players who knew they were playing every week. And then you've got 6 or 7 players who are fighting for 3 positions. And then you've got another 6 or 7 players in a squad who know the squad players. That is a healthy squad. What Chelsea have got right now, and you're asking where João Felix is going to play. You know what I want to ask you? Where's he going to get changed at the training ground? I'm deadly serious. Where are these people? If you've got 40 players, how are they all in one dressing room? How are you putting a training session on as a manager?
We've seen the first cracks at this early stage of the season with the Raheem Sterling.
It shows they're just gambling on potential, not planning for consistency. And then there are those incredibly long contracts, 7, 8, or even 9 years for players who haven't proven themselves. If a player like Mudryk doesn't work out, that contract becomes a huge financial problem. Carragher has even warned players to be careful about signing such long deals at a chaotic club. Every time Chelsea swaps out a bunch of players, they have to start over with team chemistry and structure. Carragher's revolving door idea perfectly describes the problem. You can't build a great team when your roster is never stable. 4. Carragher says the Chelsea squad is weak.
I don't think Chelsea will qualify out of the Champions League group stage.
Hot take. Oh, that is a hot take.
Hot take. Okay, see, that's not doing it. At this moment in time, Man City and Arsenal and Liverpool have got a better squad than Chelsea.
Okay.
I think their squad isn't as good as the rest of the teams I'm talking about in the Premier League. I think they could buy more quality rather than quality. But João Pedro's been a good signing. The PSG European champions.
You've just said they haven't got a squad better than the other teams in the Premier League. How is that possible when you've spent £2 billion on a squad?
He argues that Chelsea still has major weaknesses in key positions, especially at goalkeeper and center back. You can't challenge for titles if the core of your team isn't strong. Where are these weak spots? Look at the goalkeeper. How many times have we seen simple mistakes lead to goals? Poor positioning, misjudging a cross, bad passing. A team that wants to win the title needs a goalkeeper who is a reliable fortress. Until that position is solid, Chelsea's chances are limited. Then look at the defense. It often looks shaky. There's a lack of coordination, players get exposed, and they struggle to defend set pieces. The center-back partnership changes all the time. How can a club spend £2 billion and have a starting pair of Tosin Adarabioyo and Trevoh Chalobah? Compare that to Arsenal's Saliba and Gabriel, or Liverpool's Van Dijk and Konate. Honestly, Chelsea's defense is nowhere near the elite level. In big games against teams like Bayern Munich and Manchester United, their defense gets exposed. You need a strong backbone to win those matches, and Chelsea's just isn't there. You can't hide a weak defense with flashy signings or smaller trophies. Carragher is spot on for pointing this out. 5. Big picture skepticism about the Bowley Blueco model. This is Carragher's overall worry. Is this plan of spending huge money on young players and giving them long contracts actually going to work? So far, the results aren't convincing.
Listen, there's no right or wrong way of going about running a football club or trying to be successful. It doesn't matter about the system. The point I'm trying to make is we can't pretend this has been a success so far after 3.5 years. They came into a club and the manager was Thomas Tuchel. He'd won the Champions League at that club. At that stage under Thomas Tuchel, Manchester City and Liverpool were possibly the two best teams in world football alongside Real Madrid, so it was very difficult for anybody to win the Premier League. But Chelsea were the third best team. It wasn't Manchester United, it wasn't Arsenal, it was Chelsea. They then changed that manager. Okay, they then take a team who are very close to competing and winning the biggest trophies like they did in the Champions League, and then go and spend, what have we spent? £2 billion. Okay? They are no closer, they are further away than what that manager was doing 3.5 years ago in terms of competing with the top teams in the Premier League. They're further away, having spent £2 billion. They've had to bend the rules, or break the rules, if you like, around PSR in England, in terms of selling the women's team to themselves. It didn't break the rules, but listen, we know it wasn't...
It's clever, right?
Yeah, okay, other teams are doing it now, but... So that proved it wasn't going well. They've been fined by UEFA, I think, twice already as well. So that again tells you things aren't exactly running.
Why is he skeptical? First, the spending doesn't match the results. Chelsea has spent an unbelievable amount of money, but the team still lacks consistency and a clear identity. That's a major red flag. When you invest billions, you expect to see a clear system developing, not just occasional flashes of success. Second, they seem obsessed with buying young talent, but just buying them isn't enough. You have to develop them. Many of these young players end up on the bench, get loaned out, or are sold a few years later. It feels inefficient and risky. And finally, there's no clear plan. Every transfer window, they seem to be chasing a new style or a new type of player. It feels less like they're building a long-term philosophy and more like they're just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. Great clubs have a strong identity. Chelsea feels lost. When signings fail, who takes responsibility? The reaction seems to be just buy more players instead of fixing the underlying issues. Carragher's skepticism comes from seeing that money alone can't fix a weak foundation. And Chelsea's foundation looks unstable. When you put all of Carragher's points together, it's clear he's not just being negative. He's being a realist. Yes, after all that investment, Chelsea isn't measurably closer to the top. Yes, the trophies they're winning aren't the ones that define elite clubs. Yes, their recruitment is chaotic and unstable. Yes, weak spots in the squad, especially in defense, are still a huge problem. And yes, the whole Bowley Blueco model is under pressure because it hasn't delivered reliable results yet. A lot of people say give it time. But time is only helpful if you have a stable system. When everything changes every few months, when your defense keeps making mistakes, and when your transfer strategy is a merry-go-round, more time just lets the problems get worse. So far, Jamie Carragher has been ahead of the game. He's been a critic because the evidence is on his side. If Chelsea wants to prove him wrong, they'll need more than just big signings or a small trophy. They need a strong backbone, a clear identity, a solid defense, and some patience with their players. Until that happens, critics like Carragher will keep asking the tough questions, and they have every right to.